everybody. Welcome on this Friday evening to Small Town Underground, Kingdom Lum Small Town. We're streaming on Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube. And welcome this Friday evening. I have got some great guests and a great show scheduled for this evening. We have, as you can see, Ray Blankenship sitting here next to me, and we have Alex Dorr from Georgia Gun Owners. Alex, thank you so much for being here this evening, sir.
I am delighted to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes, it's my pleasure. It's just wonderful to have you. We're going to talk about all kinds of things, Second Amendment tonight. So, as most of my audience know, Ray Blankenship, thank you for coming this evening, Ray.
Well, thanks for having us tonight, Roy. We're looking forward to doing a good podcast tonight and getting everything started, getting everybody informed on what's going on in the Second Amendment community. And Alex, of course, is on the front lines of all this. He's down there at the Capitol all the time, fighting for our rights. If you do not belong to Georgia gun owners, you need to get a membership going and stay away from GA2A.
Yeah, I think we need
I'm
to
just
get into
gonna
that a little bit.
throw it in there. That's what I'm gonna do. So.
Ray, thank you for bringing that up. I would encourage everyone to join with us, and hopefully at the end of the night, they'll kind of see that we're the real deal. We know what's going on. But just a point of clarification, I won't call them GA2A.
Right.
They're Georgia Carry. They
Right.
changed their name. He's Bruce Jenner. He ain't Caitlyn Jenner. They're Georgia Carry.
Well, a friend of ours, he ended up starting the GA2A on a Facebook group, and he had a lot of the counties involved. And I thought it was funny that they ended up taking that name, and using it as their own. And especially, I think Randy had, he had over 10,000 people on his Facebook page. I mean, it was
I didn't
huge.
know that.
Yeah, sure enough.
The name that wasn't registered with the state.
Yeah.
Well, they had to change their name because their reputation was known across Georgia. Georgia Carry was stopping constitutional carry for a decade.
Yeah.
And when the freight train was coming along, they decided to get on board and don't.
Yeah, I'll never forget, Alex, that day that they showed up when Kent was there. We were all there, and Patrick stood up and he said, "What are y'all doing here? Y'all here to protest?" And I was like, and them guys were so mad.
Yeah.
That was good times.
There's quite the difference in how you do politics.
Right.
There is the favor approach, where you just want to go in there and beg, borrow, and steal from leadership to do whatever they say, and they'll throw you some bones at the end of the day. They're just hoping that the Speaker of the House will pat them on the head and say, "Well done, good little doggy."
That's right.
And your only power then comes from leadership, what they give you.
Sure.
And the other way to do it is you amass tens and tens of thousands of supporters inside of every district across the entire state. And when the day comes, you tell them all, "Hey, your representative, call them now." And then instead of just being one lobbyist in the hallway that they can literally flip a bird to and walk away from, when you've got 300, 400, 500 constituents burning down your phone, maybe even texting you if you're a certain senator.
Oh, yeah, that's happened.
From that. Those are your voters.
Absolutely.
That's just the way we prefer to do it.
Sure.
That way we're held accountable by our members. But then there is nothing that the power brokers in Atlanta can do to stop us.
That's
Absolutely. Right. So thank y'all. I'm just trying to get everything set up because, as always, we're a very small operation. So I think we got all the shares out. And the people with me in the comments, just let me know that you can hear us all, because we changed the setup. We're trying to get rid of this crazy echo, and it's still there. But if just let me know that you can hear Ray and Alex and myself, and we're coming through clear, I'd appreciate it. Alex, can you, before we get into the meat and potatoes, kind of give everybody like a brief history of Georgia gun owners? Because what you guys were just talking about, you're right. Georgia, in my opinion, Georgia gun owners have been such an integral part of moving the ball forward for all of the Second Amendment gun owners, patriots. You guys have been able to do more in a short amount of time than the NRA ever did in their entire history of being an organization. So can you just kind of give everybody a little bit of background, man? Because you guys are kicking some butt.
Yeah, Georgia Gun Owners was started 13, 14 years ago by a very good friend of mine, Patrick Parsons.
Yes.
You all are very familiar with Patrick Parsons. He started at the same time or the year after my brother started our flag, which was when he was living in Iowa. It was Iowa Gun Owners. And it was built out of a need and necessity for a grassroots organization that did not do the pleasure route of politics. And so, Patrick was living here. He saw that the state was not passing any pro-gun bills, but they had all the opportunities to. And so he's like, I'm just going to do this. So he started Georgia Gun Owners and has said from the very beginning, no pleasure, all pain for politicians till they pass it. And so, first thing he did was it came out with Stand Your Ground, I believe, and then it was, constitutional carry. Matt Gertler entered constitutional carry for years while he was there, always getting struck down because, being treated much like Colton Moore is today in the Senate. And, but Patrick just kept hammering away at the committees that were stalling the bill, exposing the Republicans, and really that came down to the Speaker of the House.
Mm-hmm.
And Ralston was like,
Ralston.
I will never do this. I'm a crook. I'm a sleazy guy anyway. I'm a dirty lawyer that does bad things for bad people. So he didn't have the stomach to move a pro-gun bill. But Donald Trump came along. Pro-gun bills started passing left and right in all red America. That's what Americans expected now out of leadership. And so he just kept pushing. In that interim, Patrick went to work for Congresswoman Green as her chief of staff. And when you do that, you have to release all of your affiliations with political organizations. And so he had to pass it off. And my brother and he had been friends for over a decade at that point. And so it was just a natural, like, you're the only one that, I would trust to, because he's been doing it for 10 years as well. And so Aaron took it over and just continued to move it. And Patrick, sadly, well, not sadly, he was here for the whole ride.
Right.
Scary. I mean, every day I was down there at the Capitol, I was running to somebody else. I was pretty green yet, but I was just picking up my phone like, Patrick, what's the history with this person? Like, why this person's cussing at me? Like, I never said nothing to them before.
Right.
What's going on? So Patrick was certainly influential in helping us figure out the waters very quickly. The learning curve was quite short, thanks to him. And so Patrick, I would say that the greatest things that he did for constitutional care for Georgia for gun rights, besides laying the groundwork for constitutional carry, was curb stomping Stacey Abrams.
Yeah.
Right.
To do that, you had to find a pro-gun Republican candidate. And there's videos, you can still find them on Georgia Gun Owners Facebook and YouTube pages of Patrick chasing Casey Cagle, demanding a survey.
Seen it.
And then after that, Brian Kemp had to immediately survey that he was going to pass constitutional carry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At that point, like, now that you've promised us that, we're going to hold you to it, or the pain's going to be too great.
Right.
It took him 4 years, but we got constitutional carry out of him, and he had to do it. He had to do it for his reelection.
Man.
And just
gritting his teeth.
Time, energy, and talent that Patrick poured into exposing Stacey Abrams to the radical socialist that she is still to this day.
Absolutely.
I think was incredible. It saved this state for 4 to 8 years of a tyrant. Can you imagine being in Georgia during that thing in 2020 with her as governor?
Not really. I mean, I'm just going to say this, and no, y'all don't have to agree with me, but I don't know at this point, considering what we're up against at the moment with our current governor. But still, yeah, I look at that as a win. So
Yep. So
I remember opening the videos, Patrick. I can't do them probably justice, but it was always like, we've got to fight this, Stacey Abrams. It was great, man.
Awesome.
And I would blast it all over the place. And I'm like, have you seen Patrick? He is on fire. And man, that really won me over. So, yeah.
Every single time he got on.
Trump tries to be Patrick Parsons.
Yeah.
Animated and gets people to
Yep.
understand and communicates with them and just gets them all to get on board.
Yep.
Donald Trump wants to be Patrick Parsons.
You got
Well,
that right.
and not to take away from y'all, y'all are every bit as entertaining. What is the other guy's name that works with you all the time? The guy, he don't have any hair. What's his name?
Aaron.
Aaron. I can't remember
Oh,
his
yeah.
name. He's probably going to be like, oh my God, he said that.
And my brother, I call him Dad in the Capitol, and he always throws a book at me or something.
He's great.
No, Aaron's the executive director.
Yes, now, right?
He calls all the shots, and we work together.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, the call log between us day to day on stuff is ridiculous. But no, Aaron is incredibly influential.
He's great.
We drive the boat, so
He's very articulate too. I've loved listening to him.
I do too.
You know, just we can't thank you enough for what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
So,
Because a lot of people, Alex, they have no idea what kind of pressures you're put under when you're over there, and how much time it takes. I mean, I'm just a small scale guy, right? I mean, I'm not putting it on the level that you guys are, but I try to put that pressure on our legislators too, and it's so tiresome. It's just like every time that session is coming into play, it's like there's the feeling of dread, coming over me because I'm over here thinking to myself, now we got to do this again. We got to fight for our Second Amendment, and it's not just while we're in session; it's a daily battle for it, and that's what a lot of people don't understand.
This battle is not January the first
No,
Tuesday of the January or whatever until 40 legislative days later. The agenda is being worked on and prepared all summer during
that's right.
primaries in the election years in the fall. And we can oftentimes, like we did this year, we know what the playbook is for the radical left and the weak-kneed rhinos in Atlanta because you can just track their verbiage the entire way. So I think it was, August last year, Aaron and I were having a meeting, like laying it out, and like, dude, it's deadly safe storage laws. That's going to be the push that we're going to have to keep Republicans the hardest from getting on. But it's not going to be the worst that the Democrats try to do to us.
Oh
Right.
no,
That's in a neutral year, okay?
right.
If there was, God forbid, a shooting any week, then instead of just like the low bar where we expect betrayal, that's going to just skyrocket.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
funny you mention that. When I think the infamous SB 201 bill, like what 2017,
Oh, yeah.
2018, we got involved with, which when I
Way
first
back.
read it, I was like, oh my God, that's what got us all started. That's the
Yeah.
first time I met even Georgia gun owners was in Rome during a Marjorie Greene thing. First time I met him and knew who you guys were. And the thing about it is, we're so used to this, even at that time, believing my senators and my congressmen, hey, don't worry about this. We have the line. And so we would expect these kind of things from the Democrats. But here we are in a Republican-controlled state, Republican Senate, Republican Congress, and we are having to worry about our Second Amendment rights with Republican legislators. And this is insane to me, Have you ever told me, even 3 years ago, we'd be worried about the bills, some of the stuff we're going to talk about tonight, from our own Republicans, I would just be like, you're crazy. And here we are tonight,
Yeah,
So,
it is. It's never ending.
so really, let's kind of jump in. Let's jump into a couple of these bills. So I want to go ahead first and bring up the House Bill 1009. I've been talking about this. This was, I believe now we have 3 sponsors on
No,
this
we
bill.
got
This
more
is a
than that
House
now.
bill.
So I have 7
Si-
now.
We've got 7. Lord, y'all, I've been working. So
Yeah,
7 people sponsoring the bill. Okay.
Just 6.
6.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
That's
I'm
what I
going to
got,
pull
6.
this up right quick on Legiscan. So what can you tell us about this bill, HB 1009?
Sure. So In the history of Georgia, there's never been a more pro-gun bill entered into the state legislature than HB 1009. And like Alex said, it's just that's marketing, man. You just made that up, and every bill's like that every year. But the truth is that the threats we face have never been greater to Georgia. And so this bill is the greatest defense of gun owners, law-abiding gun owners, as you've ever imagined. Let me back up just a second. Constitutional carry was great. We've been fighting for it for 12 years. But we were also the 25th state to pass it. At that point, it was expected. It had better have happened. At the same time, and I hate to say this, but there was relief. If we didn't have constitutional carry, we could get a permit if you want to be tracked, traced, and registered like a sex offender. But we could get a permit. Under Joe Biden, under Democrat-controlled Senate, and if they take the House in November and keep the Senate and the White House, there is untold number of horrible gun bills that they're going to foist on us. Just AR-15 bans, 30-round magazine bans, universal background checks, the list that Joe Biden does not go 1 week without a press conference talking about, we're going to ban assault weapons. I've done it once before and I'll do it again. I mean, that guy, he can't remember his name. He can't remember where he is. He can't remember how to walk, but he can remember that he banned AR-15s once and he's going to do it again. It is so ingrained into him. But at the same time, anyone that thinks like, well, if we lose DC, we'll just kick their tails in court. Well, no, he'll stack the Supreme Court. He'll add 5 new justices, and SCOTUS will be dead to us. And so for the rest of our lives, we're going to be toast. That's a horribly gloom outlook, right? But that is a scenario that HB 1009 fixes. It just says that no police officer in Georgia, city, state, any government or any state agency, you may not enforce gun laws that are only federal. If they're not the law in Georgia, you have no business enforcing them. So if Joe Biden bans AR-15s, but Georgia does not, then you may not enforce an AR-15 ban. Now, we are not breaking the state supremacy clause. We're not creating a supremacy violation. The feds can still come down here. You can still send the FBI, send all the windbreakers, send your corporate jets, get out your black Suburbans, but good friggin' luck. You don't have enough people to cover the entire state of Georgia. You already have to worry about doing it in the state of Missouri. You don't have enough federal agents to enforce federal gun control in one state, let alone 2, 3, 4, 5 states. And so what it does is it protects us from any federal legislation or executive orders or bureaucratic rule changes like the ATF did with pistol braces last year that made me a felon for owning right there.
Yes, sir.
But now, thanks to the Fifth Circuit, which we joined in amicus to that lawsuit, that's now been struck down for now. But so HB 1008 protects us, all of us in Georgia, from having that federal gun control foisted and shoved down our throats and having us disarmed. There are fake SAPA bills all over the country now. There's one in Wyoming. We had a good bill going out there. Gun Owners of America killed it.
Oh,
it's a fake SAPA bill. Yeah. Alabama has fake SAPA. I talked to the Senate sponsor and asked him to please let me help him rewrite the bill before it passes. And those are all resolutions. We are hereby resolute that we will not force gun control from the federal level down on our. That's a piece of paper.
Yeah,
resolution.
That's all it is.
Anyone can. In Alabama, it's a criminal violation if the attorney general and if the governor decide to impose the criminal charge down on the police department. What AG is going to bring charges against their own government agencies, right?
Right.
It's fake SAPA. HB 1009 is real SAPA, and it has an enforcement mechanism in it where it's a $50,000 fine per occurrence and you don't need the attorney general, you don't need a district attorney, you don't need a prosecuting attorney. You can go into the courthouse and file the charges yourself because they're civil charges. Go right against the department, and it's $50,000 per occurrence. I should redo the math, but if Joe Biden banned 30-round magazines at a federal level, and we had SAPA in Gwinnett
Cha-ching.
County came in and took all my 30-round magazines, it's something like $12 million.
Wow.
I think that math might be out of date. I don't remember when I got that last game, but I want to know. But so really, we're using insurance. That math is wrong. It's probably closer to 15 million now. We're using the insurance companies to keep us free, because the moment SAPA passed in Missouri, the insurance companies called up the St. Louis Police Department and the Kansas City Police Department and says, "Don't you dare enforce federal gun control that conflicts with SAPA. We will not be paying out. We will drop you as,
Wow.
as a company, as a customer." So that's what SAPA does, is it gives you, Roy, and you, Ray, and me, I have the enforcement mechanism to hold my sheriff, my police department, local police department, the state troopers. I hold them accountable that they don't infringe upon my second
Sure.
right.
Yeah.
It's massive. It's
Not-
massive.
The only thing I was worried about really was them using the National Guard. We saw that down in Louisiana. And
Yes, and I've had that question before, and I believe a state senator had that question last year when Colton Moore sponsored SAPA for us, and someone at a town hall asked him that. It's like, "Ma'am, that's called civil war,"
right.
and he's like, "And we're not worried about around magazines anymore."
Wow.
Yeah. Because a lot of people don't even know that there was actual gun confiscation down in Louisiana when Katrina hit.
Katrina.
After Hurricane Katrina,
Yeah.
yes.
And
Very
they're like,
disturbing.
"Oh, it'll never happen here in the United States." Well, it
It's
already
already
has, you know. And
That was just I was just right out of high school when that happened. I
Yeah.
remember seeing that, and what I would even have a gun then, and I was like, "This is crazy." So,
yeah, they declare a state of emergency, and they pretty much have a clean slate to do whatever they want to, you know.
Yep.
And that's why people have got to step, or they got to fight back, you know.
Well, I mean, this seems like a no-brainer. So I'm sitting here listening, and for all my non-2A people out there, right, or don't care about guns, it just seems like that the meat and potatoes of this bill is very simple. The federal government, you can do what you want to do, but you're not going to use state and local resources to do it. That's it. I mean, that's the gist of it, right? If you do, you're gonna pay some money out. You're gonna be in trouble. You do your own dirty work. Leave our state alone, right?
Exactly.
That's it.
This idea is as old as the Civil War, slavery. This started first in Pennsylvania when the federal government went to the state of Pennsylvania and said, "You must return all runaway slaves back to their rightful owners." And the state of Pennsylvania said, "You can't make us do this. We're a sovereign state." And the federal government tried to sue the state of Pennsylvania. They did. It went all the way to SCOTUS. And SCOTUS said, "No, you can't commandeer their resources." And then it happened again in New York. The federal government said, "Hey, we're going to dispose of nuclear waste in New York." If I had to pick a state to put nuclear waste in,
Yeah.
voting,
Yeah.
voting for New York, sure.
Right.
But
Oh,
at
man.
the same time, New York said, "You can't make us do this." And SCOTUS said, "No, you can't." And you know who really gave us the idea to do this? Was the Democrats.
Sure.
Well, they always got the best plans to, fool anything you've got.
Cities with illegal aliens.
Yeah.
Sanctuary cities. We will not work with ICE to deport illegals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you can come into this city. We won't give arrest records. We won't give contact information. We won't let you put them in our holding cells when you arrest them. It's like, well, if the Dems can do it to
Sure.
Donald Trump, who wants to get rid of violent criminals out of our country, then we're going to do it with our gun rights. And
Yeah.
there's so many more applications to this. The pro-life
Sure.
movement should be using it.
Absolutely.
And
So
so here we are, and I have to admit I'm surprised because I had heard of a third sponsor. Now we're up to six now, so I'm getting hopeful. Okay, but why, if this is a no brainer right here, if this even was considered by a Democrat at one point, why do we not have 100% consensus on this bill? What is stopping these people from saying, "Oh, that's a no brainer. Let's sign it"? What?
A lot of reasons. I won't speak to every one of them, and I'm going to speak in broad generalities so I don't put any representative on the hot seat
Okay,
tomorrow at GOP breakfast or something. But for a lot of them, it's their sheriffs will not allow them to get on this bill.
really?
It's because this bill would not allow them to be on federal task force that are set up to impose on our gun rights. So no more taking grants from the ATF so they can go buy Bearcats with them and they can go buy new squad cars and new gear and all the newest, latest toys. It's their own slush fund. They have their budget from the county, but then they get all this extra money that's all outside of the county's budget, and they get to spend it how they want. So for sheriffs in Missouri, oh, they certainly didn't like it. I forget the number. It was the equitable sharing program as well, was upwards of $200 million a year that
Wow.
got cut off. If you're not familiar with equitable sharing, but in Missouri, civil asset forfeiture not allowed over a certain dollar amount of it, a couple $100 or $1,000 or something. But that doesn't apply to the feds. So the feds can do civil asset forfeitures in these task forces and give 85% of it back down to the state as a thank you for helping us and assisting with this case. And so there's massive money with these task forces that we're saying, like, you can't work on these task forces if they're designed or they're going to require you or allow you to enforce federal gun control that's not in the state code, state law.
Wow. Okay.
Now I know why we have a drug
Lots of
problem.
Republicans wouldn't get on this bill or are leery to get on this bill. I've had Charlize Byrd, Representative Byrd, she went to the majority leader's office last year. She's like, why can I not have a hearing? Why did you cancel my bill from having a hearing? It's like, well, have you talked to your sheriff? You should probably talk to your sheriff about this first. And if your sheriff will call me and tell me he's okay with this bill, then we'll talk again. So no, that's their fallback, because they think it's anti-cop because you're allowing us to sue a police department. Well, we're not suing the officer. At the same time, the beat cops, the real cops out there on the streets every single day, risking their lives, coming to those calls, they understand that gun control doesn't work, and they don't want to enforce gun control. But if their choices are go enforce gun control or lose your job, well, they've got to think about their wife and their kids at home, and so they're in that hard spot. But with this, the beat cops can say, nah, sheriff, no captain, no sergeant, not doing that. HB 1009 says that I can't, otherwise you guys get sued, and I'm not going to do it. So if they try to fire him or whatever else, he can say, well, they were trying to break the law, and he can't. It'd be wrongful termination. So this protects the beat cops. I've talked to so many police officers about this bill, and they are absolutely ecstatic. Troopers in the state capitol guarding these politicians, asking for updates every time we walk by, because they want this bill to keep their jobs and to not be forced to break their conscience and the Constitution.
Wow.
So that's one of the reasons. I'd say one of the bigger reasons. Another easy reason is they're cowards. They don't want to have to take on this fight. They know it's going to be hard. It's going to be nitty gritty to stand in the gap, to say that I'm willing to look down the barrel of the political gun of the radical left into the coming elections and say, no, this is where I plant my flag. I'm protecting my constituents. They're not ready for the hard questions to stand up and speak truth and honorably. They just don't have the guts for it. They don't have the guts for it.
When you talk about the money part of this, we all know money rules everything, right? Of course, there's a money aspect to this, but wouldn't you think that this money would be given anyway in some other type of form? I mean, seriously, or they're just so scared they're going to lose this money. I mean, that money's not going anywhere. That's ridiculous to me.
This
Yeah.
money is actually earmarked by the federal government for gun control,
Okay.
and so they have to be spending it on gun control.
Okay.
I'm saying that as a very broad aspect of it,
Mhm.
but the Safer Communities Act passed last or summer before,
Right.
with the help of 20 Republicans
Yep.
between the House and the Senate. That's $750 million earmarked for gun control. So yes, they have to enforce gun control to get this money.
Yeah, and that filters down to every state in America.
Yes, every state has taken their piece of the pie
Yes.
on that. Georgia's taken $7.5 million
Mm.
in that money already to help enforce red flag laws. If we
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Well, we saw some of that. I think the Dalton mayor was pushing that. I spoke at the Whitfield County GOP about that too. But yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, well, HB 520 filled
Yeah.
with red flag
Yeah.
laws, right? Last year.
Now
They're going
the
to try to
mental health bill,
reintroduce it. So
So the red flag bill is HB 584.
that's the new one right now.
That's the one that's still alive today. It was filed after crossover, I think, last year. But HB 584.
I need to write that down just to make sure. HB 584. Yeah, see, we want to get these things out to the people. There's people do not know anything about this.
I wish I could flip my camera around. I have all the gun control bills filed in the state of Georgia. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 gun control bills that I know of.
This is insane. I mean, they're really truly never going to stop.
They don't.
No.
Wow, man, we've got a major hill to climb.
How many pro-gun bills have been filed?
I would say 0.
Just
Oh,
one.
1? Oh, it's SAPA.
009.
Yep,
SAPA,
that's it.
yeah.
Yep.
Ah.
There's these other ones that are being played with, NRA endorsed. And let me be clear, I don't think they do bad things for gun owners in the wording of the bill. But what they're doing is they are killing our chances of passing a real gun control bill like HB 1009 because they're wasting the inertia and momentum. It's like when you're going up a hill, you got to be doing 100 miles an hour at the bottom, right? And just to be able to clear it because you're going to run out of steam. This is like intentionally downshifting as you hit the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
And it's not even like you're downshifting for the climb. You're just downshifting to neutral to roll out a speed.
Yeah.
So these pro-gun bills, they're not helping us pass real bills that
Right.
are going to have a real effect on us, our children, and our grandchildren in this state for the rest of eternity. So I won't call those pro-gun bills. I just call them obstacles.
Yeah.
Obstacles in the way of
I mean,
bills.
is it the NRA? They're almost a joke now. It's almost like satire to call the NRA, pro-gun. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say that. That's how I feel.
Did I do that?
Well, the Safer Communities Act, written 2 years ago, with John Cornyn out of Texas, Republicans, U.S. Senator John Cornyn.
Yes.
NRA lawyers were in his room helping draft the bill on what they could live with their membership.
It's wild.
Yeah, they didn't help us out on bump stocks either.
More gun control than they have pro-gun legislation.
Yeah.
For sure.
I was glad to see old Wayne LaPierre out of there.
Yes. Absolutely. All right. So let's talk about.
By the way, if you're an NRA member that donated to NRA, if you're not watching the civil lawsuit against Wayne LaPierre right now, just so you know, your memberships
Went in
went
for
to
that.
cash Christmas bonuses for his landscaper,
Wow.
not for your gun rights.
Oh,
I would-
$1,000 on Italian cut suits
nice.
in Beverly Hills. That's where your donations.
I need a gig like that, brother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Didn't.
And I'll go ahead and tell you now.
If I had the conscience for it anyway.
Pro-gun bill in America, and he had a total death grip on the Congress.
Yeah.
Dude, you earned it.
Absolutely.
You've done nothing. You've done the opposite.
Yeah,
of
he's hurt us a lot.
Well, I can tell you, you're crazy in the state of Georgia if you're not giving your money to Georgia gun owners, because those are
Amen.
the ones on the front line that
right.
are fighting for the people, for goodness sake. So,
Yes.
which we're going to be plastering that out here later. Thank you for that one. Let's talk about what I think right now, and hopefully this is the wackiest thing I'm seeing. Okay, we're gonna move on to Bill HB 971. So why don't you take this one away? All right, this is
Write
crazy.
that one down on my board. It's kind of fresh, but yes, that would make 17 bills. HB 971. I gotta erase. I keep House and then Senate, so now I gotta make space. So HB 971. It's one of those bills that I would actually say is harmful to gun owners.
Yeah.
It's not just an obstacle. It is the biggest obstacle to passing pro-gun legislation in Atlanta for sure. But it has gun control in it. But we can't talk about HB 971 unless we talk about HB 855 and HB 161.
Yes.
So let me roll it back real fast.
Sure.
Last year, and this bill is still alive, radical, leftist, anti-gun, anti-American, socialist, communist Michelle Au from Johns Creek entered HB 161. On top of HB 44, HB 45, and another one up there. I took her name off of it. She's entered every anti-gun bill ever, but this was like the softest one. This is deadly safe storage laws. This requires every gun owner with anyone in the house under the age of 18 to lock up their guns 24/7 or face charges.
Okay.
And you're like, you're out of your mind. Just today, I was looking down the hallway upstairs. I was helping one of my boys out of the bath, and I was like, I don't have my gun on me. It's downstairs, and I think I left the garage door open. I'm like, where would I go if I needed a gun right now? I'd have to run past the safe because I could not open that in time. I'd have to run past the safe and past the bad guy to get to my gun because I couldn't open up that safe fast enough.
Right.
You cannot open up the safe fast enough in the middle of the night. No way. Not a chance. So HB 161, deadly safe storage laws, that's just the step in the door before Michelle Au wants to pass universal background checks, 10-day waiting periods, red flag laws, everything else. And she claims it's for the safety of children. I'm a very conservative man. We're talking about guns, but I'm going to say that if Michelle Au cared about children, she wouldn't be the lead House sponsor on the most pro-death baby-killing bill there ever was. So, no, Michelle Au does not care about children.
No.
She's all for killing them to the
That's right.
35,000 a year in the state of Georgia. So Michelle Au wants HB 161 bad. She couldn't get it through her subcommittee. I went down there, testified against it, told the Republicans, if you dare, XYZ. So this year she entered HB 855. And this is now the toe in the door for the foot in the door.
Right.
And it is
That's
a
nice.
Stop me if I'm talking too much or
No,
too
go ahead, go
No. This is what we were talking about. This is that foot in the door.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's a tax rebate of $300 to buy a gun safe. Because after all, she just wants a safe. Oh, by the way, if you want $300 to provide her, well, the state of Georgia and Democrats that are in it, you have to provide them proof of purchase with your name and address, thereby creating a de facto registry of every gun safe that has applied for a $300 tax credit in the state of Georgia. I won't go on a list. I am ardently opposed to lists.
Yeah.
And so this is ridiculous. But at the same time, this is the type of garbage that Republicans would fall in line with in a heartbeat to say, let's go and give our constituents $300 for buying a safe. You know what? How bad is that? It's a tax. Everyone loves free money. This is the bill that Georgia Kerry endorsed.
This is
that Michelle Au was retweeting and sharing and could not stop talking about because this pro-gun group, and I'm saying air quotes, this pro-gun group has endorsed, and she's just crooning about it. And if you've ever heard her talk, crooning is a very good word. And so that is the bill that we knew we had to come out on very hard. And this was dangerous, especially because Republicans who get endorsements from Georgia Kerry, as if they mean anything, ask Stephen Henry how those work out. They were saying, hey, now we can vote for a gun control bill, and we can tell the Democrats in our district that we're not that bad. We voted for gun control because Michelle Au's happy. It's her bill. And then they can go to the Republicans and say, I voted for a bill that Georgia Kerry endorsed. I'm pro-gun and anti-gun at the same time. It's called a rhino.
Yeah.
So there was plenty of them that were going to be lining up for that one. And so we got loud and we got heavy, and our members got very active in that. So
Yeah, I've said too, Alex, you know, if she did get this bill passed, you know, all it would take is a couple amendments and she would be right there where she wants to be. You know what I'm saying? With the safe storage laws and stuff.
yes. Well, that's one of the issues she brought up in the hearing for HB 161 is how do you enforce this bill?
Yeah.
Well, we do it for we tell new parents that they have to have their kids in an approved car seat. They have to bring in their car seat for inspection before they can leave the hospital. I got a secret for anyone. Have your kid at home and no one's going to check your car seat. But she's like, so much in the same way, it's kind of on an honor system, and we're able to check on this stuff. And if, a kid gets a hold of a gun and commits a crime, well, you're the criminal. And we'll bring charges against you and a $5,000 fine. And so she talked about how she had an issue being able to enforce deadly safe storage laws. Well, then the argument for passing HB 161 next year would be, well, hey, we actually own $300 worth of your gun safe. And so now we're claiming the right to inspect your gun safe to make sure you're compliant with it. And by the way, we have your name and address. Surprise, we're coming whenever we want.
Over my dead body.
Amen.
Wow.
Yours, mine, and his.
Wow.
So that was what's so alarming about this. And for Georgia Kerry, and I get it. There's 2 cells, and they got to share them among the 13 board members, and they couldn't put it together. But to not see this, maybe they did. They didn't care. Maybe they were told to be okay with it.
Maybe they have a slush fund.
Well,
It kind of makes me wonder.
maybe. I don't think so. Maybe it's an ice cream fund.
Yeah.
And they're sharing Biden.
I think it's a power fund is what it is.
Yeah.
Well, their biggest power broker died last January. And so they're kind of in la la land.
I see.
To get Ralston from the grave.
Right. So now they're out there looking for some support.
Sure.
They gotta sign on to some quick cash,
Very quickly. Well, to paint this even worse, Michelle Au flies to D.C. She was just in D.C. today, by the way, again, but for a different issue with Joe Biden to do with discrimination.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
She is on Kamala Harris, Joe Biden's state legislature task force for gun control. She's up there in the White House with big DNC donors, with strategists, think tanks, and Joe Biden giving her a playbook on how to pass gun control in a Republican-controlled legislature, and how to, if you can't pass it, how to unelect people, or at least make it so bad for Republicans, how they can expedite their hopeful takeover of a chamber. This woman came down here. I'm going to use that term loosely, woman. Michelle came down here with deadly safe storage on her mind, and just the White House just posted about it just last week that they're all in favor of every state passing deadly safe storage laws. That's the number one agenda for the White House last week in gun control, is this, because they know this is the trickle down. This is how.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, they know. Hey, we might not get red flag laws passed, but hey, if we incrementally hit them here, here, and here, and then there's putting pieces of the puzzle together before you know it, and then you've got desperate people, money grubbers that are working their system. Oh yeah, well, just a little bit here, just a little bit there, and before you know it, you're in the middle of a complete red flag zone. I mean, that's what it seems to me.
They've used the CDC data too, for child fatalities and things of that nature. But, one thing that I noticed whenever I was reading all that, I actually read the CDC report, but it was teenagers. It went all the way up to 19 years old.
Yes.
And I was looking at that. I was like, well, 19-year-olds, 18-year-olds, and technically 17-year-olds here in Georgia are not considered children, you know? And so I'm thinking to myself, well, they're skewing that data. You know, they're skewing the data so they can make it sound so bad. But my biggest issue, and what I've talked about a lot, Alex, is just education. You know, whenever I lived in Tennessee, and as a kid, we had the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency come to our school and actually taught us gun safety. The things that we didn't learn at home, we learned how to hunt and track and, you know, and trap and everything else at home. I was a country boy. I grew up on a farm, so I learned how to do those things. But it was the general safety items that I did not learn from my parents that was really pushed kind of hardcore that I still remember to this day.
Yep.
And it's just like I've said before, they push God out of the schools. They've also pushed this gun education out of schools as well,
Yep.
because gun is a bad word in schools, you know, and you never heard of any kind of school shooting or anything like that whenever I was going to school. And, you know, I remember having shotguns in the back of the truck, you know, and on the rack and all that, and nobody said nothing to us. You know, and I remember bringing a .22 rifle to ROTC. I was in ROTC on the rifle team, and I brought it right into school. Had ammo and everything. Nobody said a word. Everything's fine, you know. And so I'm over here thinking to myself, for the people, especially this newer generation, that didn't come up and they didn't learn these things like we did back in the day. They're oblivious to what resources are out there, you know, and it's just like a lot of gun ranges and things like that. They don't mind spending some time with you to, you know, teach you the rules or whatever. I mean, we've done some stuff in the Catoosa County Second Amendment Sanctuary Group as well. For the Catoosa County GOP, you know, we had a little shooting, you know, shootout and everything over there, and target practicing and all that. So we had people that are actually on the line and stuff, on the fire line, that had never shot their firearm before. So we had some guys over there kind of helping out, range officers, and showing them how to properly hold the gun and everything else. So there's resources out there. All you got to do is reach out, you know. And they talk about the safe storage stuff too, about the locks. I can go to my sheriff's department and get a free lock. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't have to have a $300 voucher to say, here's your lock. I can just go to my sheriff's department and get one.
Yep.
And they're free. They're not going to charge you anything for them.
Exactly.
So there's resources out there, and there is times that I do lock my firearms up, but it's very rare. Usually I always got it on me, you know.
Yeah,
but,
I mean. Mm-hmm.
But
I would say the only time I lock mine up is because I'm afraid of a Michelle Au voter breaking into my house.
Well, that's
yeah,
true. I
that's
mean,
it.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, this goes back.
Killing them.
This goes back to sort of nuclear family here,
Yeah.
Anti-Marxism. If you're,
Talk about that. Yes.
Yeah.
you know, if you're a father and you're raising children, it's your responsibility to train your family on gun control.
Amen.
And make them understand, respect, and fear these firearms.
They're not your children, though.
Oh,
Oh no, we're
Again.
not going there. No, please don't.
Like to think like everybody else does, and so don't you dare have an opinion.
The collective.
How dare you?
this is
So
it.
yes, they have destroyed the nuclear family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They have destroyed parental responsibility. Not only have they made parents today dumb on how to raise children, but if you are a responsible, loving parent who cares about your child and you want to protect them, they take away the right and the ability for you to do that.
Yep.
Sure.
So they're surprised when children who are unchecked and untaught and not taught the value of life, the sanctity of life, they teach them you can kill them in the womb. You can kill human beings in the womb.
Yeah.
And you're surprised when they don't hold value
Sure.
to their fellow classmates.
Sure. And then they act out. What do we do?
Monsters.
We put them on SSRIs. We medicate them. And a doctor sits there and tells them, actually, everybody has a spectrum. We're all on the spectrum. And then they give you this ADHD, all these medications, and children are out of their minds while they watch on TV sanctuary cities for drug use
Yeah.
in this country.
my Spectrum was fixed on my behind. You know what I'm saying? My parents fixed
insane.
that Spectrum real quick.
Exactly.
You know.
My Spectrum every day was either going to be 5 or 6 or how bad I was.
Sure.
I was on a different needle though.
Sure.
I hear you, Alex. I'll tell you something else. You know, I blame a lot of this on the economy because you've got both parents having to work. I know guys that are working 2 jobs right now and their wife is working, you know, and so it's really hard to juggle all those things, you know,
Yeah.
and keep your family together. I mean, you know, you walk through the back door, the front door, the side door, whichever door it may be in your house, and you look and the clothes are stacked up, the dishes are stacked up. You know, you look at the floor, there's stuff laying all over the floor, and you're over here going, I'm too busy. You know what I'm saying? I've got to get back to reality here, and I got to start leading my household again. You know, and you know that doesn't happen to me much, but because I got a great wife. But you know, a lot of the things that we're really facing, I think I mean, the government's got it fixed that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're making you having to get that second job. They're making, you know, your wife having to work and everything, because if you don't, you're just not going to make it. You're going to be on the streets, you know, and that's just the truth of it. I mean, the house payment, your car payment. I don't even know how people do it. I mean, I'm not even paying a house payment or a car payment or anything else like that. Just general bills, and we're just getting by, you know, and it's a day-to-day struggle for us. And I mean, I'm an electrician, got my own business too, and make pretty good money, but it just don't go far enough.
Nope.
And
Go
you know,
far enough anymore.
that's right, and that's where they want you. They want to keep you in that.
16
In that.
was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I tell you
And-
what,
Money went places.
it did.
And I'm gonna tell you something. I'm a bail bondsman. All right, we own a bail bonding company. None of this stuff will even apply to me at the moment. I have to, by state law, as a bail enforcement agent in this state, have to carry a gun license, and I have to have a gun. You understand? Like, I can supersede every bit of this. And people have asked me before, like, well, you're a bondsman. Why do you even care about this stuff? And I'm like, this goes beyond me or what I'm capable or can do. This goes beyond everything. I have the same argument every day. Well, what are you going to do if the government comes in and tries to confiscate your guns? And you have to explain to them, like, well, it's game over. And I'm like, that's how you have to look at it. And you're like, yeah, but what about your family? What? I said, look, if you go back and you look in history, and I know I'm being a little extreme for some of these people out here, but if you go back and you look at history and you look at Hitler and Mao Zedong and the Cultural Revolution and all these things, that's the first thing they did. They took away their right to protect themselves, and they took away their food, and they can control that population. If we've never learned anything from history, it's that the Second Amendment is there to protect yourself from anything that comes your way. And we have to, as a society, as a community, we have to be vocal and tell these people, no matter what you do, no matter what kind of draconian legislation you try to pass anymore, we will not comply with this. I am so sick. You said it yourself earlier. How many bills do you have on your wall that you are fighting? And you guys are just going toe to toe with these people. And here we are talking about it, trying to break it down for people who either don't know or don't care. But this is the end of the line here. If we don't protect this line, I'm telling you, they're going to come and take this stuff away from us. And we have to make a line in the sand and say, people, I don't care what you do. You are not going to come in my house and look in my safe. You're not going to come and woo we with $300 bills. I'm tired of it. I had the same conversation today, and they're like, well, you know, my family. Look, if you don't protect yourself and your right to protect yourself, right, you're going to lose your family anyway.
Right.
Because if they're willing to come and take your guns and take your food and take your money and your livelihood, they'll take your wife, they'll take your children, they'll do whatever they want to do, and you have zero recourse.
Yep.
Sorry.
Amen. Well, that's the facts. For
I
sure.
didn't mean to get crazy.
I don't have to add it, and there's nothing I can say to add to that.
Yeah.
Just saying, we've got to do this, man.
Many of the viewers, I don't think many of your viewers don't care about this. But if you don't care about this, you think that somebody else has got it, it'll be too late by the time you want to actually do something.
Sure.
That's what I told people today.
Yep.
I said,
I have to have the constant picture flipping up on my phone of a kid, and it scrolls every hour, so I get to look at both of them, and if I ever feel like I don't have the time or the desire to write that next email alert, that next Facebook post, record that next video, well, if I don't do it, then he'll be the one
Yep.
behind the
Yep.
rifle someday.
And here's the thing: I had the same conversation yesterday and some today. People are like, well, what do I do? I said, well, you know what? It doesn't do a bit of good if the only people they ever hear from is Ray Blankenship, Roy Hambrick, and Georgia gun owners. I said, you don't want these scenarios to happen. You don't want somebody to come to your house and tell you that you have to give up your guns. I said, why aren't you making these phone calls? Why aren't you picking up the phone and calling your legislator and giving them your name and telling them to stop this crap? That's what we need, more participation out there.
Exactly. And apathy is the killer of this country.
Yep.
And it is not, that's what blows my mind. It doesn't take $1,000. It doesn't take $500. It doesn't even take $250. It takes 2 minutes a day. Pick up the phone and call your state representative's office and say, hey, you're not voting for gun control today, right? You're voting for pro-gun bills? Are you co-sponsoring pro-gun bills? Which pro-gun bills have you co-sponsored? That's an idea right in and of itself. Is I'm always telling our members, call and tell your representative to support this bill. Just call your representative and ask them, what pro-gun bills have you co-sponsored this year? What committee do you sit on has a pro-gun bill that you can help move forward? What are you doing for me? 2 minutes. Now, that would be a waste of 2 minutes because my Republican state representative really, really doesn't like me. And so I wouldn't bother calling him. My state senator, he's better. He's co-sponsor of SAPA last year.
Okay.
Guys, it's not hard to call the switchboard. If you don't know your representative's number, call Georgia Gun Owners anytime during the work week if I'm not live in downtown or something, and I will find you your state representative's name and number. I will find you your state senator's name and number, and if you're really nice to me, I'm going to make it exclusive to a member of Georgia Gun Owners. I might even have their cell phone number for you. You can call and text them. And just ask them, what pro-gun bills are you co-sponsoring? What anti-gun bills have you come out publicly and condemned?
Right.
And what is that going to do? Well, if you call them every day and ask them that question, they're going to think about you when that vote comes up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're going.
Alex, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Mental health bills. I've been hearing a lot about what's going on with mental health bills right now. Can you enlighten us on any of those that have any kind of anti-gun wording?
Mental health bills are an absolute hard no for us.
Right.
Because they're going to always have a component. The one that was passed 2 years ago, the year of constitutional carry, that one did have red flags in it. It had a special unit set up with hand-picked by the governor, some officers to go and do these enter the home to look for guns for these people under duress and mental health. Red flagged. Haven't committed a crime, haven't been charged with a crime, no evidence has been presented to a judge, you haven't been allowed to hear the charges, you haven't been in a court hearing. That's red flagged. So the mental health bill in 2022 did have a red flag aspect to it, and that was stripped out of it by State Senator Brian Strickland when it came out of the Senate Judiciary Committee. He killed that section out of it as we were talking to him about
I remember that.
constitutional carry.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this year's bill. Frankly, I would just say if you're a Republican, you should vote no against the mental health bill because it's going to have gun control in it. At the same time, I'm just kind of freaking tired of the government in my life and anyone else's life for that matter.
That's right.
You got a mental health problem, crisis in America, stop drugging them.
Right.
Stop giving them explicit content.
Stop watching Jersey Shore.
Yeah. That would do it. That would fix a lot.
Yeah. Take away their vices and teach them how to love people, how to love the Lord,
Amen.
their sins, repent of their sins, and we'll quickly do away with the mental health problem in America.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't need the government bureaucracy to make people have joy. Only the Lord can do that. So
Absolutely.
that bill this year, but I would suspect it's going to have the red flag bill in it because, again, the DOJ is waiving $750 million at all the red states to pass and to help enforce red flag bills laws if they were to pass them. So I would just imagine any bit of that is anticipating 10 million, 20 million, $50 million a year from Joe Biden to enforce it. So yeah, I don't see how a mental health bill is good for gun owners in any way.
Yep. I'm telling you, it's insane, the money. And guess where that 750 million comes from?
Yeah,
Let's see.
us.
I don't even have a wallet on me.
I'm having a hard time of
Yeah.
making it.
Yeah, it's bad when we're having to fund, these government agencies to take away our rights. That's why, I
Well, they
boycott
wanna-
a lot of businesses.
They're sending all the guns and ammo and all the missiles to Ukraine
Yeah.
and Israel, but they're
And don't
taking it all
forget
away from us.
Afghanistan. I mean, Afghanistan, they left a ton of rifles. They want to, arm the Taliban, but they don't want to let me have my AR-15, Yeah, that's pretty good,
We need to give the citizens of Ukraine guns to defend themselves. We need to give Israel guns to defend themselves. But you guys, an AR-15 is not going to stop, an F-16. So why do you need it here in America? But
I've heard that. I heard him say that, but let me ask you this. If that was the case, then why did we lose in Afghanistan? If that's the case, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
We had every bit of technology that you could imagine, but we pulled out of there because we could not win that war. And there's been many people that have tried to take that place and lost every time. Russians were the last before us. And so, I mean, if that's the case, then I think you got a bad way of looking at it because it's not true. It's just not true.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's crazy.
HB 971. I don't
Yep.
want to forget about it.
Yeah, let's go ahead. This will be our last thing we'll talk about, and I was want to bring it up. So I'm going to pull this back up. So some people are still just jumping on it. We've been talking about the bill the process of HB 855 161. We're fixing to cover 971. So take it away.
Sure. So 971 is an anti-gun bill that we strongly oppose, not only because it has harmful language to gun owners in Georgia, but also it completely destroys any momentum to pass a real pro-gun bill in the state of Georgia. It is a cop-out for cowards in weak districts. So this was entered by Mark Newton from Augusta. So, think of purple, got to be a purple district around Augusta. I haven't looked at his re-election
But
numbers.
he calls himself a Republican.
He calls himself Republican.
Okay.
Yep.
Bull crap.
GOP caucus. Yeah, he's in the GOP caucus. We'll leave it at that. But yeah, his bill is very reflective of Michelle Au's. What Michelle Au said in 2 sentences, he said in 20 or 30 sentences. And he made it a $300 tax rebate or a tax credit, and you still have to apply to the state for it. It's a one-time use. You can use it for a gun safe, or you can use it for a gun safety class. But at the same time, that information is still logged with the state of Georgia because they have to keep meticulous books for money, not for voting records, but for money, in order to account for the money that went out. And so now, if you take that $300, the state of Georgia knows about it.
Huh.
And
Okay.
now know you have a gun safe. If you're audited, you have to be able to provide proof of purchase. You can't just go out there and just claim that credit and be done with it. But at the same time, I talked with Mark, with Aaron. We had a Zoom call with him, actually the day after we put out our first video about him. And he's like, guys, this is a pro-gun bill. You need to get behind it. And
Really?
I'm like, absolutely not. You're creating a registry. He's like, yeah, but do you know how hard it is for someone to get tax records? Look at how hard it was to get Donald Trump's. I said, they got Donald Trump's.
Yeah, they
Well, are they?
Did, and I don't have the lawyers that Donald Trump does.
Right.
Well, does any of these people familiar with the Georgia Data Analytical Center that was just executively passed in September the 1st of 2023 and what that's capable of doing? And does anybody know that that's been around since 2019 during COVID and it had to be signed into law that was taken out of HB 520? Does anybody realize what kind of roadmaps they can paint with all this analytical data?
Definitely they do. and that's why they're doing this.
That's right.
And so we told them this was an anti-gun bill. It came out with 4 or 5. I think there's 5 signers on it. The note
Yeah.
pattern
Oh,
somewhere with it.
we'll go ahead. I got it right here. I'm going to go ahead. We'll publicly say the names here. There was
Do
Mark Newton, Scott Hilton of the 48th, Matt Reeves of the 99th, Deborah Silcox of the 53rd, Bill Hutchins of the 161st, and Robert Dickey of the 145th.
So I won't go through all of them. I have heard from someone like, someone's got to talk to Robert Dickey. This is wrong. If he knew, he probably got duped into this.
Okay.
But everybody else on that list, they're in swing districts. They need a gun control vote if they think that they can get Democrats to vote for them in the general election. And so Scott Hilton, right? It was Scott Hilton, yes. I mean, talk about the biggest joke in the Georgia legislature. He's the only one that has had the 2 IQ points that thought it was a good idea to come out and endorse Nikki Haley.
Oh, my God.
And he will not stop talking about it. Gun control, mega government, Nikki Haley from South Carolina, who killed constitutional carry every chance she got. And her only pro-gun bill was to allow reciprocity with the state of Georgia. It only helps Georgians. That doesn't help South Carolinians. So Scott Hilton obviously is trying to play soft middle ground because he's afraid of his district.
He's now officially on my can opener list. Okay. That's my nice... That's the only word that I can come up with to describe people who some choice words could be said. He's a can opener. Okay, moving along.
But and then the rest of them are kind of the same as I've heard from others. Like, yeah, they're in swing districts. They're hoping Democrats will vote for them in the general if they vote for a gun control bill. They hope that during their debates they can talk about how they endorsed a pro-safety bill that also had this, component of gun registry in it. And so, again, this is so dangerous to Georgians, not just because it's, would be bad for those who are dumb enough to take this tax credit, but because this destroys the momentum to pass pro-gun legislation. Instead of us building up pressure and phone calls and this vice being put around the GOP and the pressure to crush them to pass the Second Amendment Preservation Act, otherwise they're going to have, just gobs of gun owners in the primary remembering their betrayal. They just came along. Mark Newton came along and he's like, hey, drill a little hole, a little pressure release. We're all going to run over here. We're going to get behind this bill and let's all just vacate the pressure that's building up to protect Georgians from Joe Biden. But we don't want to do it because, I think that's what blows my mind is if people would say that, well, if you ask these people to pass SAPA, then we're going to lose control of the House. And I'm like, I don't believe that.
No, I don't either.
That Republican apathy is so strong in the state of Georgia that if they had people that stood up and act like Charlize Byrd and Colton Moore,
amen,
people would flood into the primaries, flood into the general election.
Why can't they understand that? They spend their time working against these people. They call them the crazies. They say, "Hey, your little crazies come up from Georgia, come down to Atlanta today. Colton's crazies and crazies." Why can't they understand that we're the people out here that's taking an active stand and fighting? We're the people out there that will support them and we'll have their back and we'll get out there and grassroots. What is wrong with these people? They can't figure this out. They look at us like we're enemies or something.
Because we are.
You are their enemies, Ray.
Man.
You are. I think I was talking to Colton about it, and I think I would just say to his whole district, the fact that how things stand is, well, anyone that wants to run for a statewide office better understand that these voters, you need them.
Yeah, that's right. Gotta have them.
Well, you might have beef with one, you better be thinking about the rest of them.
Yep, exactly.
You better be thinking about the rest of the voters. So. That's called cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Right. Amen. Biting the hand that feeds, man.
I've knocked on a lot of doors, just pushing pro 2A candidates. And for a long time, actually, I'd done that before, I even really got into politics. And just talking to your neighbor, that's basically all you got to do is say, hey, if you keep up with everything that's going on, some people don't want to do that. They don't want to, spend the time to look at all these bills and try to figure them out, and but the thing of it is, the people that do, you are a resource to them, and they'll hit you up. I mean, I get hit up all the time at work. Hey, what's going on in the state legislature this year? And so you got to be on top of it, and I don't mind. I actually like doing that because I like to know what's going on in Georgia, and how it's going to affect the 53rd district. And I think the last senator that we had before Colton really despised me, and yeah, he called me that guy from Catoosa.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this real quick. Okay, it's that state senator he's talking about, which was a family friend. We knew each other by name, and I'm gonna tell you something. When I went and talked to him about this bill, he laughed. The SB 201, he laughed at me.
Yeah.
He said, "Are you kidding me? We've got the state under control. We are perfect. Don't you worry. We are holding the line." And it is February the 2nd, 2024, and we are talking to you all about draconian, tyrannical gun bills in this state of Georgia. So you tell me
That never go
who's
away.
holding the line here.
Yeah.
Oh,
I gotta ask you though, like you say you were a family friend with him. I mean, you don't call yourself a friend just because you're able to text him, were you? Because
no.
a lot of people in Georgia were able to text him
No.
the time we were done.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I always had respect. Ray. I'm not ashamed to tell because Ray. I've been since the beginning of my experience. This man, the first time I ever was scared crapless when I went to my first rally, this guy showed up and said, "Hey, can I set up with you?" And we've been inseparable ever since. About him. I text him the day before that Brian Kemp signed constitutional carry, and I told him, I said, "I'm not here to attack you." I said, I said, you've done great things while you were over this state. I said, but this has to happen, and he did. He texted me back respectfully. I said, "It is happening. Don't worry about it." But he stalled the entire time. But no, it was the huddle. He was always around my parents, and we had run a bonding company, so. It's not like we were, but I knew him by name. I mean, I video recorded the man, and out of respect, I never released a video recording that would have made him look like an idiot, just because I'm like, I have certain lines. I'm just saying. I'm thankful that we've gotten rid of him, and we have a senator, Colton Moore, who is out there risking his neck for me and you and him in this room, and not for the establishment, not for the money, and he's killing himself to do this.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what we could have had with our previous senator.
Sure. Yeah, he could
But
have
he
been
spends all of his time now running circles around all of us, trying to put the little jabs in and try to shovel out people like me so they can bring back their good old boy system.
Yeah.
Oh, he's without his cane, and he's now a registered lobbyist.
Yes, sir.
Ran into him yesterday. We'll talk about that sometime.
All right.
Can't wait to
Absolutely.
hear that story.
Yeah.
He is well, it's actually funny. He's wearing a badge. And so he should be on the Georgia Lobbyist Registration website, but I can't seem to find him.
Maybe it just hasn't been updated yet.
Yeah.
Because this is a pretty new,
That update,
I guess, yeah.
That update takes a couple years, really.
I'm looking again here. I want to know if it's updated because I asked him who he was lobbying for because it doesn't say anymore. It says multiple organizations.
Uh-huh.
No results for Mullis.
Wow.
But I just want to know who's paying his bills.
Sure,
Yeah.
a lot of us do, and it's no secret that this district's been paying his bills now ever since he's been out of office. He's not went hungry. I can promise you that. So we're going to be wrapping it up here in just a minute, and I'm going to let Ray have a word in a second. But I want to ask you, what do you see moving forward? Give us our discernment on gun legislation. Like, give us kind of a bird's eye view. 2024, we know is going to be a crazy, crazy year. So what do you think, man? What are we looking at?
I am holding out hope that we see movement on SEPA. I really am.
Amen.
We're working hard in the Senate to try and get it moving over there, but the House is picking up co-sponsors already. We have 6 on there. There's actually some that are not on there that were on there last year, and I actually texted one of them at the beginning of this meeting and said, "Hey, why aren't you back on that bill? We need you on that bill." And so we're going to just keep trying to rack up co-sponsors, but now we need a committee hearing from public safety. And so we need people to be calling Jay Collins's office and telling him we need a hearing on HB 1009. It needs to happen now.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
I is the end of this month, last day of February. I got to get a new calendar. That's
I
2023.
think we're in
yeah.
20 days, ain't we? 21?
Say
20?
again?
We're in like 20 or 21 days or something like that in the
Yes, but I think in
legislative.
the beginning they'd load up legislative days back to back to back, and then as they start running out of time, they'd stretch out legislative days 2 days apart, 3 days apart. So there'd be 2 or 3 legislative days in a week rather than 5 or 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, I believe Sine Die, they might have actually changed that schedule because they readjusted everything after Richard Smith from Columbus, State Representative Richard Smith, passed away this week.
Yes,
Tuesday.
that's right. He
was
did.
Rules chairman.
Rules chairman. That's correct. Yeah.
House rules chairman.
Mhm.
And so they've had to, without a rules chairman, they've got to reappoint and go through the whole thing. And so the House has done the best things for Georgia since they've gabbled in, which is nothing.
Right.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
they can't do anything with that.
No laws is good law.
That's right.
Exactly.
I said the same thing about our Congress this year with McCarthy and all.
Oh my
You know,
goodness.
Axios is saying, "Well, this has been the lame duck." I was like, "That's a good thing. Why do we need more laws?" You know.
Exactly.
And I believe that we have a special election coming up too, right? In February, there's another special election.
There's a bunch of special
Yeah.
elections, but in
Okay.
a session this heavy, we have not had time to do any special election surveying,
Gotcha.
so on and so forth. But so we need to be calling Jay Collins' office and
Okay.
say, hey, we need a hearing on 1009.
Gotcha.
And I talked with him at length last year about it, and he thought it was a good bill, but it wasn't his committee. We thought it was going to be. It got pushed over to Judiciary Non-Civil, then it was killed over there. But yeah, Jay Collins needs to give us a hearing on this bill right away.
Okay.
So, and then that's the offense.
Okay.
Defense, just watch for the alerts. We'll tell you which one's moving, which one's picking up co-sponsors, if there's ever a hearing. But we're red flags and repealing stand your ground is a massive one.
Okay.
That one has House GOP leadership support. As of 2022, there was a gentleman who was caught on the record talking about repealing stand your ground, and now he's in leadership in the House. And so we are, afraid of it, repealing stand your ground, but then deadly safe storage laws as well. If any of these bills, the 971, the GOP bill, goes to a committee hearing, that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay. Ray.
Basically, what I want to leave everybody with is call your state rep, and I got a hold of mine, which it's Mitchell Horner, and Mitchell is actually one of the co-sponsors of this
He is.
bill. And I texted him back the other day whenever, I looked and seen his name on there because I'm constantly going back and forth. And I said, hey, all right, he's on there. So I texted him. I said, thanks. That's all it takes, y'all.
Yep. And that's another key thing too, right? Because we're all human beings. As soon as Ray told me, I called Mitchell personally and thanked him for getting on this bill. So that's what we need to do. We need to not only do we need to make calls, but believe me, we're going to be making some calls. We need to call the people that have sponsored this bill, and we need to reiterate our appreciation for them standing up against this common sense, gun legislation. I mean,
yeah.
So
I would say call Jay Collins.
yes,
You got to call the Speaker of the House.
Yep.
And tell them we want this bill.
Gotcha.
John Burns.
Call John Burns, and then you got to call Chuck F. Stration, Majority Leader,
Gotcha.
and tell him we need this bill on the floor now.
It's almost
And here locally, we need to get a hold of Steve Tarvin and Mike
Cameron.
and hit them up and find out where they stand with it and, why their name's not on there. I mean, we definitely got to get people on the record
Yes.
saying whether or not they're for this or if they've even read it or if they even know it's even in existence. So, that's our responsibility as voters and, just taxpayers as well. But not only that, but just Americans,
I agree.
because we got to hold their feet to the fire. And, it's like I told Roy, in the last podcast, I'm leaving a lot of my friendships aside, and because I've made friends with a lot of these people, but my activism has got to always stay strong. No matter if I like you or not, and it may not be anything personal against you, but if you're not voting pro Constitution, pro 2A, then you're going to be on my radar. And that's the thing too. Yeah, Ray. We get calls from Ray all the time. We get texts from Ray all the time. They get sick and tired of seeing me. You know what I'm saying? They get sick and tired of talking to Alex. They need to hear from you. If you're a gun owner, and I've talked to a lot of gun owners throughout my life, but they've lost hope and faith in the system, and they rely on their guns more than they do their vote. But we've got to get it to a point where we don't need to worry about that anymore, that we can always press these people to do the right thing and get the legislation in that we need to protect us through the law. And then if things go bad, then we always have something else to fall back on.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm going to leave you with tonight. And I just hope that people can get active in their local community, local groups. Matter of fact, if you need some training or anything, you can call me. I can get you pointed in the right direction for gun safety, whatever. I mean, we may even put on a class or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
And so just do it locally here and keep everybody up to date. And but last but not least, I want to thank Alex for all the hard work that you and your brothers do, and just the doors that
Invaluable.
Yes, you do not understand. If you don't belong to Georgia Gun Owners, you don't understand the hard work that they do for us. Even if you're not a member, they're still working for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got to re-up. I'm going to re-up soon.
So
even me, guys, I'm going to re-up. I'm just saying.
Get involved with them too.
Where can we find you at? Where can people go support you?
If you want to become a member, the fastest way is going to be to go to joingggo.com.
Okay.
That's where you just go to become a member right now. GeorgiaGunOwners.com is our website. You're going to find all of our articles. You're going to find all of our action buttons if you want to sign your petition to your state senator or your state representative against or for a bill. If you want to email them directly, that link is in there as well. You can find us on Facebook for our lives when we give breaking alerts from down in Atlanta from the Capitol as stuff is happening. So find us on Facebook, Georgia Gun Owners. Find us on Twitter, Georgia Gun Owners. We are on most of the major media platforms, but I would just say join up with us. And, what we do with your money is we don't buy the family vacation down to Aruba with a detour to Lincoln, Nebraska to pick up your niece from college. That actually happened. Thank you, NRA donors. No, we are running digital ads. We are running mail into districts. We are running text messages out. These are expensive services, and we are using them. We are not sitting on them. We're not saving them for the general. We're not saving them for we're saving some for the primaries.
Sure.
But these programs are running and operational right now. And so your membership, your dues, your money, your $35 will go into broadcasting this message to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of gun owners across the state of Georgia to get involved and take action. So it's force multiplying. That's 100%. All it is. And I would just tell them to do like for your channel, like they do for ours, comment, like, share.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah,
Zuckerberg likes to choke us out. So
you aren't kidding.
But you can't break that algorithm when people are liking, sharing, and commenting.
Yeah. Even if you can't join, what you can do is you get involved, sign up to their pages, and every time that they go live, share the links. Share the links on your timeline. Share the links in groups. And it doesn't matter if it's blasted 50 times. It just gets the word out, lets people know what is going on. It's that simple. So.
Yep.
Wow. Well, okay, we're fixing to come to a close.
Control newspaper. AJC won't print it. WSB won't print it. Fox 5 won't talk about it. It's gonna have to come from breaking alerts.
That's right.
From Georgia Gun Owners. So
100%, man. Just want to send a couple quick shout outs to Lisa Adams, Richard Schroeder, Calvin Cochran. Let's see, I'm going down the list because there's way too many comments
There's
tonight.
Charles Stoker.
Charles Stoker, the Sir Charles Stoker. Let's see, I think I saw Andy. Sharon Holland, thank you for watching this evening. Andy Soha, glad to have you with us. You guys are all great. Thank you, Lisa Adams, for commenting on everything. We couldn't do it without you. Alex, I can't thank you enough for coming out here with us. And we're going to support you guys, and we're going to be activists like you've never seen. They're going to get tired of hearing from us, brother.
I appreciate it so much, the invite and your involvement.
Yes, and stay tuned tomorrow evening. We're going to be doing the commissioner from Chattooga County, Blake Ellisbury. He's going to be on about 8 o'clock with us, and then Sunday, after a Mexican dinner, we're going to have Colton Moore live on air. So stick around this weekend. It's going to be a busy, busy weekend. Thank you all for sticking with us this Friday night, man. You are the man. We love you, and when you need anything from us, all you got to do is ask.